go again.
Always a good idea to tune in. Om Namo Guru Dev.
Yes.
Satnam, Steph. Good to be here. Good to be here with you. And I'm really excited about today's conversation. It is all about what happens at this meet me in the middle at midlife, number one. Number two, what it's like to be a yogi at midlife. And what are all the interesting adventures that we can take our practice with on as we venture into this different decade of our lives, or different, I don't know, chapter of our lives, actually. So I thought it would be really important to chat with you, because I know that you've been doing a little bit of work in this area in the realm of Kundalini Yoga. So I want to dive in with you. If you're ready, I'm ready for you.
I sure am. Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Salimah, yoga therapist. I'm here with Steph, and she is from YogaOnline. YogiOnline. YogiOnline 108, and I'm from YogaVision. And we have met a couple of years ago now on this particular platform, Facebook, and we struck up a really interesting connection, and I wanted to further that conversation with all of you. And that's about reaching into this place called midlife and how we take our practice with us. So, Steph, how old are you?
Oh, I am 50. I turned 51 in August.
51 in August. Okay. So I'm right there with you. I turned 51 in July this coming year. And what's it been like for you? What does it feel for you when you say this magical number?
Well, it's a big one, isn't it? I suppose when we reach those decades. But my 50th year so far, 51st year, it's been great. I've really enjoyed being this age. I have to say I didn't enjoy my 40th and my 40s, but that was life and how it's impacted me. But I'm so much more calm and steady on the path at this 50th decade. And as Kundalini yogis, we work with the life cycles, and the 54 is round about the average for women to go into menopause for the next phase of their lives, when they cease to be reproductive. It's an average, and that's the third life cycle of energy. And actually the physical body goes through a process of maturity and change, and don't we know it? It's quite an impact that the shifting sands of the body seems to have on us. So yeah, I really sought to make this a conscious transition, because when I looked at all the material out there for women of our age, what perimenopause was like, menopause being a definition of when we've ceased to menstruate for a year. That's the kind of medical definition. So perimenopause is really the run up to that. And you know, if you Google perimenopausal woman or menopausal woman, you'll get this sort of battle axe woman in a dressing gown, looking really miserable, and you know, maybe even with a rolling pin in her hand, and you know, sweating, and yeah, that's certainly part of it. You know, we all have those aspects, but I just wanted to really reclaim the juiciness, the wisdom, the experience that this age holds for us as women. And when I did a bit of digging, I realized that in many cultures, and particularly notably in the culture of Greece, in Delphi, to become an oracle, to become a wise woman, you had to be menopausal. So how's that for a change around? You know, imagine people coming to our doors for all our pearls of wisdom, and as opposed to the current status of older women. So yeah, that really intrigued me, really.
Yes, I can relate with that 100%. There's the image of a dwindling vitality, as would be portrayed by social media and the beauty industry, and then there's the reality of stepping into our wisdom, stepping into experience, stepping into acceptance, stepping into a whole other chapter. And I feel like this one has been, you know, even in these first few minutes of it, have been so incredibly powerful. And comfort is not the right word, but home is the right word. You know, that this is the time where, you know, this is what I look like, and this is how my personhood shows up, and this is what I seek to impact and portray to the world. And all of that is all conscious decisions. It's not like I'm not under the influence of anything really anymore, except for my own heart and my own consciousness. And I think that that really makes a huge difference in what I'm able to achieve now.
And we're really blessed to have this, in a way. I've heard it said that as women, we have these monumental changes that seem to sort of happen with the shifts of our hormones monthly when we're in our reproductive years. And certainly when we go through menopause, it's a massive change. And, you know, I feel that shamans seek these changes. They go out looking for them. We have them. It just happens for us, and it's massive. It's like a metamorphosis of a caterpillar. We go in and everything's changing in this time. It's all changing in there. Sure, we get these raising of blood pressure and we get all sorts of physical symptoms, but if we can midwife our way through, you know, if we can bring them out in a really positive way and support the system, it's not a disease. It can actually become, we can piggyback the biological changes and really make something of it. But it does require some care, I think. I think self-care is a really key one for us as women, and yeah, we have to really take care of these shifting sands, I think.
Yes, I love that analogy, shifting sands. It's so true. It's everything's there and it's just reorganizing itself. And in that way, symbolically, we can take that as a little marker of like, oh, externally it's changing. And so internally, I have permission to change all of that as well. And I think there's a few important things is that most yogis, if you look back into some of the historical texts, really each one that we even know of in the West who happen to be men, but a lot of them came into their self-awareness around this age, 40 plus. And so I think too, what I saw happening when I was running my yoga studio is this is a time of life where lots of things change. Children are less dependent. There's more financial independence. Maybe there's a partner, maybe not, but the partner is not a factor that says, no, you can, or yes, you can. There's a lot more independence. And with that comes an understanding of someday down the pipeline, I'm going to meet my maker. I'm going to leave this vessel. So how do I want to do that? What kind of lasting imprint do I want to leave in the world? And how will I take care of myself as I go? And so talk to us now about self-care in this time of life, because I know you've developed some courses and you're created classes on this. So help us understand and benefit from your research. What have you learned so far?
Okay, so I have learned, really, the fundamental learning is that Kundalini Yoga is so fantastic for this time of our life because it targets those autonomic systems which seem to be all shifting without any thought or input from the conscious self. So we're regulating the nervous system and we're regulating the hormonal system practically in every single kriya, I feel. So for me, the practice of yoga has given me that constant self-care on those systems that I can't see or you know, it's not my muscles. Breath work, of course, acts directly on those autonomic systems. So that's been an absolute staple for me. So yoga's like, I boiled it down to like 3 keys for me. Yoga, breath work being one. For me, my diet's been really crucial. So as all the hormones are in complete flux, they all depend on each other. So when one shifts, another will shift. So what happens often is we develop an insulin resistance as we get older. It happens anyway because we eat far too much sugar compared to what we're evolutionarily used to. But it also happens because there's a destabilization in the whole kind of hormonal matrix. So for me, absolutely cutting out carbs and sugar has been a game changer. The brain, it's helped me with the brain fog, or that sort of confusion. I sort of walk into situations and not know what to say or what I was doing there. And that's really cleared with this, just putting a bit less stress on my pancreas, on insulin production. So yeah, that's the ketogenic diet, or a very low carb sugar. I feel that's really, really key. So it's yoga, the diet, and the third one is the self-care in terms of sleep hygiene and reducing stress. So I do absolutely feel if anybody can operate on less than 7 hours, I'm not sure if I believe it, but prove me wrong. But I think minimum 7 hours, maybe 8 hours sleep. I take a rest in the middle of the day. And yeah, I just don't put myself into stressful situations, and I monitor my stress levels. So those would be my 3 keys, really. It would be the sleep hygiene and eliminating stress, the yoga and breath work, and absolutely cutting down on the sugars. And that's not an easy one. I've actually got a video on my YouTube channel, which I link in an ebook I wrote about midlife, which basically my friend, she's a local advocate for low carb in my local doctor's surgery. I just thought, oh, that sounds interesting. So I interviewed her, and she threw down the gauntlet in the interview and said, give it a go for a month. I was like, oh, okay. And I did. So there's a video where she does that. And then there's a video of a follow-up a month after. I have to say it took me about 3 months to really get my energy levels back, because when you move from a sugar-based diet, and that includes starchy veg, rice, bread, it's not just like cakes and sweets. It's like you're changing your engine from petrol to diesel. So it's a big metabolic change, and it took me 3 months to feel, well, like I was coming out of the fog. You might have heard of keto flu. So then I had to really up my supplements, which I think is another part of that self-care. Magnesium, we're all chronically short in magnesium. That helps with blood pressure regulation, all those hot sweats. Vitamin D, I think everybody should supplement with vitamin D, but magnesium was really key for me, and I've had to really up my doses of the old magnesium, and take salts, which is something you lose a lot of salts on the keto diet. So anyway, I could go on and on. I do have this ebook, so on my website under Yoga for Midlife, you can actually get that ebook for free, and it's really gives you my supplement recommendations. I mean, I'm not a doctor, it's just what's worked for me. I'm just sharing what's worked for me. Herbs, I'm a real fan of herbal medicine and supplements, and I give a couple of breaths which I'll share in a bit. So yeah, if anybody wanted to download that book, it's completely free. It's a little ebook, and I also offer a free yoga practice for anyone who wants to just give it a go, really. So yeah, those would be my 3 keys to surfing these highs and lows. I was getting a lot of hormonal headaches as well, and the keto diet has not got rid of them, but really reduced the impact and the severity of them. And that's just a blessing. If anyone has had migraines or hormonal headaches, horrible. So yeah.
I'm so glad that you've found some relief. So I'll add to your list, and I totally agree. There's, nobody really tells us about these later puberties, those puberties that come in your 30s and 40s and 50s, like they're real, and we don't necessarily discuss them. So I'm really glad to open the sisterhood to, here's actually what happens, and here's what you can look forward to, and this is how you can best ride it out, instead of just, packing it in like, oh, I'm not menstruating anymore, I'm not productive, I'm not a productive member of society anymore. It's not true. It's just a different chapter.
Yeah.
Okay, so what have I found? Having a hobby. I started drumming, and I think that that's been,
Cool.
I approach it the same way I do my Kundalini practice, like every day, boom, 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 and try new rhythms. And, it gives me a safe place to vibrate the cosmos, to really, to be at one with making sound, creating something. And I think that that's, part of my journey is always be in creative mode. So that's number one, is having a hobby. And number two is I do my best to do things differently. And by that, I mean, when I was younger and I lived in the city, I walked as much as I could in the city. And now I have opportunities to go out in nature. And so I walk in nature. And that's been very rewarding, because I've seen things that I never would have in the city. There's a big, we talked a little while ago about Polyvagal Theory. And part of that is that when you're looking around and you see fractals, naturally occurring patterns visually, and they mostly happen in nature, like pine cones and spider webs, and these naturally occurring patterns, that it actually brings a whole level of relief to our nervous system. So that's another one, is doing things differently and getting out into nature. So I guess I bundled a few, but those are my three. New hobby, doing things differently, and going out into nature.
Yeah, I love that. That's totally resonate with the creativity thing. Yeah, I've been really enjoying getting my teeth into new artistic endeavors. And it's interesting that you called it a puberty.
Yeah. Yes.
I love it. I've got a son. He's 15, and we're like in a parallel experience. We've got all these hormonal changes happening, and it's like, wow, I look at him and think, wow, we're going through the same things, those irritations, or the, extreme tiredness or whatever. So yeah, it's our third stage or second, whatever, but it's a puberty. And what I find quite distressing when I look out there is to see how many women are medicalized because of this experience. So, you've got mood swings. Oh, the doctor says you should go on antidepressants. That might be really relevant. I'm not undermining any advice from a doctor, but often if we target the master system, the pituitary, the hormonal system, we might be able to create balance in a way that's will assist us to move through, not mask symptoms. I often think, we women will medicalize quite quickly on something that's actually quite natural. Obviously, not every woman is going to have, you might have a very difficult time of it. And of course, I'm not a doctor, but I'd like to see us embrace these changes as some kind of initiation, really, transformation, and not to be branded sick or, grumpy battle axe, really, which is a cultural thing, isn't it?
I think you're absolutely right about that. It's a dominating culture that has said, you're of value if this and this is true, and if they're not true, you're not of value. And I think we're reclaiming that now. We have to, because there isn't, if we think about a lifespan being, let's say, 86 years for women, if we throw away the next 36 years, what a loss to future generations, and what a loss to our own sense of purpose and meaning. That, here is a prime time where we're not as encumbered by responsibility, or we can choose differently. And why not do that? So I really appreciate where you're going with this conversation. And I think as more of us talk about it, the more of us share about it, the less scary it is, and the less we feel the need to color our hair and go on crazy diets, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of factors involved in our graceful aging, and a lot of it is reclaiming the story of our graceful aging. And men are distinguished if they have salt and pepper hair, and I'm trying like mad to grow mine in. So, it's
Right.
it's a really yeah, it's a badge of honor. It's a marker of time passing, and that's been actually very exciting. I sharing personally, a few people I went to high school with are no longer alive, and I think how blessed am I to see this time of my life. My son is young, and my family's growing, and I want to be here. And taking that on rather than feeling, oh, okay, so I got extra a few pounds, and who doesn't, by the way, right now. But that's part of where we really have to watch the tailspin, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
How have your practices changed? Let's do a little compare and contrast, because I know I speak to a lot of women in numerology consults who are 30 something. And then I also get a really good chunk of women who are 50 something. So tell me now, for your own experience, what's changed between 30 something and 50 something in the terms of the practices you choose? And where is your mind? How has your mind evolved?
Yeah, that's a great question. In my younger years, 20s and 30s, I kind of pushed myself, really. Push, achieve, achieve, achieve. And yeah, there was much more an outward sense of achievement. Now, when I practice, I'm very much more measured. I won't push through something, but I'll always weigh it up, because you know what it's like. Our minds can come in and say, oh, don't want to do that, when actually we need to just say, thank you, mind, but I'm going to, because you're just operating in an old survival mode of telling me not to do something that might challenge me. However, sometimes I have to sit with that and go, actually, maybe mind is right. So I'm just a lot more gentle with my practice. I still have a drive, I'm not going to lie, but I really try to bring in the meditative, the chanting, the more, the less that's going to make me strong and fiery in the world, and more of that inward reflective practice. So I'm just kinder to myself. And I think that's what my students like as well. They like that sense of, I'm always giving probably 3 or 4 modifications for each pose, with the final one always being, just imagine it. If you're not up for it today, and the reminder that our bodies change every single day. It's not like, oh, I'm getting older and more tired. One day I'll be able to do something because I have the pranic force, I have the mojo to do it. Another day my body just wants to rest, and maybe just imagine I'm holding my arms up for 10 minutes. Maybe it wants to be that way. So yeah, how about you? How's it impacted for you?
Absolutely. I think you have really identified something, and that is the yes and the no from a physical sense becomes more pronounced. So where I could have, even worked past an injury, like gone into my workout mode and done it past an injury, now I know that if something hurts and I keep on at it, it's going to hurt more. And it's not actually going to resolve itself. It's just going to hurt more. So I think being very careful about that, and knowing that, yeah, what do I want my contribution to be? And so and letting my kriya come from that place, not how do I want to look, but how do I want to show up?
Yes.
I'm not saying my looks are not important. I still get a haircut. I still look after all those things. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, that the time where that was the most important thing is mercifully ending.
Yes.
And I can actually look at what are my actual priorities, rather than fitting in or being a certain size in my clothing, or all that stuff. And it was a lot of pressure for a very long time. And it feels like quite the relief to say I'm off that particular treadmill, like actual treadmill. And now I do activities that feel fun and feel relaxing and feel like I can really take a bite out of them rather than having them, always get me to a goal.
Yeah.
More process oriented than goal oriented now, I think.
It makes complete sense. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think when we're younger, we project to the future. And now we have the opportunity to just keep being present and keep returning to that presence of the moment. And I think, like you said, you've lost friends or people from school. It really makes you realize we just have this present moment. It's really all that counts. I think in our 20s and 30s, we're driven very much to look to the future, to projecting goals, and settling into that present moment it's an absolute gift. I just feel relieved saying it. So, phew.
Right. We future forecasted to right now. I think said, okay, when you're 50, which felt like felt very old and very like
right.
Yeah. And I can see, my kids are like, oh yeah, and you're 50, and yes, it's a landmark, and it's also in many ways a point of no return. The view is different from here, that's for sure.
Yeah. I went for a walk with my kids on Sunday, and it was very long downhill, and I said, look guys, we're going to come back and I'm going to be very slow because of course they're going to charge ahead. And my daughter just turned around to me and said, but yoga. I said, yeah, but older.
Good one. I love that. It's all no bars, just go for it. Good for you. So that brings us to this juicy part where I wanted to find out, can you show us a practice? What have you been working on for your own personal practice, or what are you sharing with people who are interested in working with midlife for the joys and the opportunities it offers?
Yeah, so I've got a favorite meditation for the old brain fog. And I know a lot of people experience brain fog for whatever reason. And certainly it's a feature of perimenopause to just get that foggy brain. So I've been practicing a segmented breath. I think we've done this one together where you have your hands. I'll just tilt my screen a little bit. So you have the left hand up and the right hand down. And you just have just like that. You just have the hands nice and easy, the elbows in. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to breathe in 8 segments till we're completely full and expanded of air in 8 sniffs. And then we take a nice pause, and then we exhale in 8 sniffs. Again, we completely empty by the end of that 8th sniff using the navel.
And do the hands move?
And the hands move, yes, they do. So they bounce with each sniff. We're just bouncing the hands, left up, right down. And then with each sniff. So I suggest we give that a go. You fancy that?
Yep.
Let's do it. Okay, so Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Tuning in to our inner teacher. We'll just tuck the chin in ever so slightly so the back of the neck is nice and long. And just empty completely of air. And then just begin to sniff in 8 segments in your own time. My dog. for the last few, we're really going to try to expand, deepen the breath, really fill with that pranic force, that air, the life force, and completely empty. At the end of that 8th sniff out, and just do a couple more rounds. And when you've completed your this last round, just take a big breath in. Lightly hold the breath. Feeling every cell ringing with light prana. And exhaling. And you can just relax the mudra, the hand position when you're ready. So I think that's such a great meditation because it oxygenates, it stimulates the frenal nerve and the diaphragm, which just brings us into a state of coherence. And I think this helps to balance the hemispheres of the brain as I understand it. So yeah, I just love that one. I'll return to that again and again.
Very simple, and you know, it's not like you even need to do it for very long. Maybe that was a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So in a busy day, in a, you know, crowded prefrontal cortex, it's a very good one to just loosen up the cobwebs. I think that's
that's so right. That sort of crowding in there that's such a good way of describing it. Sometimes when I'm around the kids and organizing this, I'll just go up to my room and I'll just sit on the edge of my bed and I'll just do that, just to come out of that having to think for everybody mode, which is what we do as women. And you know, we have to sort of organize everybody, don't we? Or we don't have to, but it's what we tend to do, you know. Yeah, carrying everybody's schedules, etc. So yeah, a bit of relief.
Yeah, and you know, I think that, you know, some of those responsibilities are required, especially if they're children and they're dependent on us. And then there's other things that, you know, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I've felt like it's important to say is that we didn't just come here to be mothers. We didn't just come here to be partners. We came here with our own destiny, our own life purpose, our own meaning and impact and leadership to have in our lives. And the sooner we get onto that, the less we have to tolerate ill health and, you know, getting bogged down with this kind of stuff and losing our sense of direction.
Right.
And I think it's, you know, really practices like Kundalini Yoga for me that have shown me my way and shown me the way to myself. So I'm really excited and emboldened by this conversation. I know that there's all of us who are here now get to ride this wave and to make it our own. Stop dyeing our hair, stop worrying about what we look like, and actually have meaning and impact in our life. So on that note, I want to thank you for inspiring. Thank you for sharing that technique. And we'll be back in a little while with the next conversation, which is going to be on numerology. So I get to show you, Steph, how yogic Kundalini Yoga numerology works. And I'm really excited for that.
I can't wait. I've been reading up on numerology, but actually I shall wait till our conversation because I do find it deeply fascinating. So yeah, really looking forward to that one.
Okay, great. Until next time, to all of you, thank you so much for watching and being part of this experience. And hopefully it's got some wheels turning for you. See you very soon. My name is Salimah, yoga therapist, and I'm here with Steph, YogiOnline.
Online, yeah, YogiOnline. And we can put our links in the comments below and let us know what your pearls of wisdom are for this wonderful time of life. And yeah, share with us what works for you.
Until next time, Sat Nam.
Bye, Salimah.